Welcome back to FastGadgets. Nothing too earth-shattering for our topic today, but I thought I would discuss the topic of Windows 10 and ask the question, come on, is it really that bad? Now, if you recently watched, let me get rid of this, my last video, I'll just hit home, maybe that'll do it. First looks at Fedora 26 official release. If you watch that video, you will know that I was doing a demonstration of Fedora 26 in a virtual machine, which is always my first step when I'm looking at a new operating system, and then I consider what hardware platform I want to put it on. So at some point I do put it on physical hardware, and I am currently running Fedora 25 on my Lenovo Yoga 910, so you know, it stands to reason that at some point I'm going to do an upgrade. But I got the ire of a couple of viewers because I was running Windows 10 and running a virtual machine inside Windows 10, a Linux virtual machine. And I thought this comment was interesting, and I get these kind of comments all the time, so I would like to point out for the record that when I'm talking about my user comments, I am not criticizing somebody because they made a comment necessarily, and I think everybody has a right to their opinion. So one thing I don't like is people sending hateful messages or angry messages to somebody we talk about in the user comments, so please don't do anything like that. When I'm looking at the user comments, you know, this is a public forum, so I feel that it's reasonable to look at it and talk about somebody who made a public comment. But I get comments like this a lot, and it's not just Windows related, it's Linux. You know, somebody will say, well, you're running that on Linux, so I'm not going to watch you talk about Windows, or you're running that virtual machine on macOS. I've gotten that comment before. Or this person, I don't watch distro reviews on virtual machines running on Windows. And it got me to thinking, is Windows really that bad? And I'm going to give my 2 cents on that topic and why I do use Windows. I'm in it right now, and I'm sure I'm rubbing some salt in the wounds of a few people, but you know. Oh, by the way, this is the next phone I want to get. Of course, I can't afford it right now, but I can dream, right? Anyway, off topic. So here's the thing with me in Windows 10. Number one, I'm an instructor, so I need to understand Windows 10 and understand the applications that go along with it, and try to, if not have an advanced, complete knowledge of Windows 10, at least a clear understanding of the graphical interface, how it works, where you can find things, you know, features, problems that might occur. So I take the time to go through and learn what I can about the different settings and how things work and how I can make changes to different features in the operating system. So that's one of the things that I do because I'm an instructor. Now, the other reason, and you probably don't hear this a whole lot, but I'm also an IT professional, so I've made pretty much all of my income from information technology and working with computer systems, large-scale networks, wide area networks spread across the state of Michigan. And I've learned a lot, and I've learned that as an IT professional, I'm in the position where I have to support Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows 10, Linux, and to some extent Mac OS. So I have all three of the systems. I think most of my viewers know it's no surprise that Windows 10 is my least favorite, and I made a comment on the last video. Windows 10, it's one of those things where I absolutely hate it, but I like it too. It is my least favorite, but for those main two reasons: one, I teach it, right? And two, I am in information technology, so it's not a history degree. We are required to understand and learn the newest technology in our area of expertise, because just saying technology, I mean, it's huge. So you can't just say technology, right? Now, here's another comment I want to look at and give an example of, and that learning as an IT professional. That's one of the reasons I've got this YouTube videos up, is because I actually learn. I'm always learning. I'm going to learn until the day I die. And Serge here gives me some information about some things that I can do. He recommends trying out the LXQT spin of Fedora 26. So I'm thinking, you know what? I've never done that. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to see if, of course, here I could just do this on any current spin of Fedora by the looks of it. And he gave me a couple of articles. I wouldn't have known that or seen that had I not had the video out. So it's something I can make really good use of and increase my knowledge about Linux, and hopefully maybe stamp out some issues I have. And he gave me a couple of links also of things to do after you're finished installing Fedora. And usually this one, even though it's Fedora 24, is going to be up to date enough where I could still use it. So these are things that are really helpful to me. I like those kind of comments, but I don't take comments that are contrary to my opinion personally. I think that everybody has a right to their opinion. But with regard to Windows 10, if somebody was doing a Linux demonstration on Windows 10, I'm definitely going to watch it. That doesn't mean they don't understand Linux or they don't understand the nuances of different operating systems, you know. I mean, I have my reasons for running Windows 10. One is to keep my knowledge set sharp. The other is, quite frankly, the hardware support's great. Right now I have a lavalier mic plugged in directly, and it uses the, I guess is it an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch banana jack, the earphone jack on the side of the computer. Well, in Linux, it doesn't work. It does work, but just barely. There's a lot of interference, so the drivers, I think it's the also setup, really isn't working in Fedora 26. I could try a different distro, maybe, you know, boot it up from a USB and see if I get better results. But the fact is, when I'm in a rush, I can just plug in my lavalier mic in Windows 10 and it works perfectly. And when I'm doing demonstrations for students, I can go ahead and just plug it in and do a screen capture with OBS, which of course works perfectly with Windows 10, and that works for me. I have very little driver support for OBS, so I can't utilize the hardware on my Yoga 910. I can't use the built-in GPU support. The other thing is, you know, it works with all the software, so any packages or applications that I'm working with that are for Windows are going to work best in Windows. So when I'm recording, especially for a tutorial or something I'm doing for my students, it works best. So those are my reasons for using Windows 10, and to answer the question, is it really that bad? It's not that it's bad. You know, there's pros and cons. It can play games. I get a lot of comments, by the way. If you really want to read some pretty vitriolic comments, look at, if I go to search here and type in 10 reasons why Linux is better than macOS. Take a couple of minutes and look through the comments on there. There are people that literally, I just can't believe it, the level of hatred and vitriol. Those that can't stand people who use Linux, those that can't stand people who use Windows 10, and those that can't stand people that use Macs. All the while, I feel like they're forgetting that it's just a tool. The operating system is a utility. It's a means to an end. If you like playing games, well, Windows 10 is going to work really good for you. If you're concerned about security and you can get what you want from Linux, then use Linux. Majority of the time I'm using Linux. Sometimes I use Windows 10. And it's not very often, I'm not going to lie. I mean, my two primary operating systems would be Linux first and then Mac second. And I've only been using Macs for about a year, but it was very intuitive for me. And it is the least intrusive as far as, well, I shouldn't say the least intrusive. Obviously, Linux is the least intrusive when it comes to updates, but macOS, at least you have choices. You know, you can say I'll install that later, or you can look at all of the different elements that are going to be installed and choose which one you want to install, which I really like. I think that we're forgetting that these are just tools, and if you do go in and check those comments out, you can watch the video if you haven't already. The level of negativity, and this is, I guess, my most popular video. It's definitely gotten a lot of hits. I wasn't saying that Linux is better than anything else. I was just saying there's 10 reasons why I think Linux is better than Windows 10 or Mac OS. But the fact is, I mean, I have another video that's 10 reasons why Mac OS is better than Linux or Windows. And at some point I'm going to bring one out about Windows, because I think it's safe to assume we can think of 10 features that we like about Windows. I've talked about 5 already. Many people can't stand the OS, and I actually like it. I mean, to me, it's pretty cool. It's not necessarily the operating system I would use all the time, but yeah, I don't think it's that bad. So sometimes I use it. One of the things I do like about Windows 10, another reason, we talked about hardware support, I can get oodles of battery life out of this system in Windows 10. About, I would say, 70% more than I can under Linux. And for those of you who say don't forget to install TLP, I have definitely done that, and it did extend the battery life. Now, the one thing I haven't done is try to tweak the settings, so I have a little bit of learning to do about TLP in Linux. But if I just wanted to power the system up and get maximum use of Office applications, maybe some virtualization, maybe some web browsing and video watching and things like that, and I need to take the system to work with me for the day, that's probably the OS I would be in, since it's the one I primarily support. Now, I do teach Linux classes as well, and a lot of students are shocked and surprised to see that I run Linux on my laptop, which they don't really consider it viable. So I show them what I do in it and how I use it. We don't just go through the basics and learn the command line and things like that. I actually am showing them on the projector what I am doing and why I use Linux every day and how it can be used, you know, because again, it's just a tool. Yes, there's some privacy concerns with Windows, but no more or less than there is with an iPhone or an Android phone. So if you're really freaked out about privacy with Windows 10, you probably should chuck your Android phone and your iPhone, because they know every single thing about you without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm not saying that's a good reason for Microsoft to do what they're doing, but it is par for the course these days, and they've tried to make the approach more granular. Let's go into settings and see, like if I did a search for privacy, well, here we have a whole privacy. Wow. I really don't have other devices running Windows 10. But in my humble opinion, Microsoft has went very far to make it possible to alter the privacy settings. I think the biggest beef that everybody has is that Windows 10 is still phoning home to some degree, and so, you know, they're not really happy about that. And that is unfortunate. Let's check out feedback and diagnostics. Windows should ask for my feedback automatically, always. send the data Microsoft. This is the one that I kind of didn't like. Enhanced, full, or basic. You really don't have turn it off. So that's kind of a bummer. And I think that's the biggest pet peeve people have about Windows 10. And it's a valid reason to be concerned. But like I said, I guarantee you your phone's got way more information on you and has collected it than Microsoft has so far. So that's my thing about Windows 10. Is it really that bad? No, I don't think so. And I don't necessarily pick on one OS over the other. I will probably pick on Windows 10 more, mainly because it's my least favorite operating system, but it does have utility because it is a tool just like the other tools we use. And if you're wanting to be an IT professional and you go into an interview and somebody asks you about what is your opinion on Windows 10, and you say it's terrible, it sucks, it's the worst operating system ever, I don't use it, I only use MacOS or Linux, you're probably not going to get hired. They're asking because they want to know what your level of expertise is. If you're going to address that question, you really want to come at it from a professional standpoint, not a political or private viewpoint. Keep that stuff inside, right? Think about what you're posting because you never know who might look, right? When I hired employees in information technology, I did background checks, which included social media, and it was shocking how easy it was to find out all the postings people did on social media that was available to the public. So I didn't have to ask for passwords or any of that. I just did a simple Google search for the name or email. It's really simple. People hand in resumes with their email address on it, and you just do a Google search based on the email address, and you find out all kinds of interesting things about people. And that could include a channel where you're making vitriolic comments. So think about that. Is it constructive or is it nasty? Anyway, that's my 2 cents on Windows 10, and just thought I'd do a little follow-up to the video I did on Fedora First Looks. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Fast Gadgets.